Questions and answers from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother on Visions, Part 5 from Sri Aurobindo. The vision of a flower, was seen through the physical eyes, but by the subtle physical consciousness. In other words, there was an imposition of one consciousness upon another. After a certain stage of development, this capacity of living in the ordinary physical consciousness and yet having superadded to it another and more subtle sense, vision, experience becomes quite normal. A little concentration is enough to bring it, or even it happens automatically without any concentration. As the flower was a subtle physical object, not entirely material in the ordinary sense of the word, though quite substantial and material in its own plane, not an illusion. A camera would not be able to detect it, except in the case of one of those abnormal interventions by which a subtle form has been thrown upon the material plate. It could be sensed in a dark room, though not so easily, and it would not then have so vivid an appearance unless you are able to bring out something of the light of the subtle physical plane to surround it and give it its natural medium. If seen with the eyes shut, it would be no longer a subtle physical form, but an object or formation of the vital, mental, or other plane, unless, indeed, the inner consciousness had progressed so far as to be able to project itself into the physical planes. But this is a rare and, in most cases, a late development. It is not usually the object that vanishes. It is the consciousness that changes, owing to lack of sustained capacity or lack of training. One is not able to keep the subtle physical vision, which is what was really seeing the object. This subtle physical vision comes easiest in the moment between light sleep and waking, either when one just comes out of the sleep or when one is just going into it. But one can train oneself to have it when one is quite wide awake. At first, when one begins to see, it is quite usual for the more ill-defined and imprecise figures to last longer, while those which are successful, complete, precise in detail and outline are apt to be quite momentary and disappear in an instant. It is only when the subtle vision is well developed that the precise and full seeing lasts for a long time. This results from the difficulty of keeping what is still an abnormal consciousness, and also, in this case, from the difficulty of keeping the two momentarily superimposed consciousnesses together. The mother is always seeing people whom she does not know. Some afterwards come here, or their photographs come here. I myself have these visions, only I don't usually try to remember or verify them. But there were two curious instances which were among the first of this kind and which therefore I remember. Once I was trying to see a recently elected deputy here and saw someone quite different from him, someone who afterwards came here as governor. I ought never to have met him in the ordinary course, but a curious mistake happened, and as a result, I went and saw him in his bureau and at once recognized him. The other was a certain Y whom I had to meet, but I saw him not as he was when he actually came, but as he became after a year's residence in my house. He became the very image of that vision, a face close cropped, rough, rude, energetic, the very opposite of the dreamy, smooth faced, enthusiastic Vaishnava who came to me. So that was the vision of a man I had never seen, but as he was to be in the future, a prophetic vision. When you see light, that is vision. When you feel light entering into you, that is experience. When light settles in you and brings illumination and knowledge, that is a realization. But ordinarily, visions are also called experiences. Usually, the visions precede realization in a way they prepare it. The vision of the higher planes or the idea of what they are can be had long before the transformation. If that were not possible, how could the transformation take place? The lower nature cannot change by itself. It changes by the growing vision, perception, descent of the higher consciousness belonging to the higher planes. It is through aspiration, through an increasing opening, that these visions and perceptions begin to come. The realization comes afterwards.